I love the original Cervélo Aspero. It was number 2 on my top 5 gravel bikes of 2023. It was fast, nimble, but planted. There were 2 gripes for many riders. It was too stiff, and the tire clearance was limited. This second generation Aspero keeps the same lively feel, but with a lot more comfort and a bit more tire clearance, now up to 45 millimeters. Also, Cervélo got most of the details quite right. You've got a Goldilocks aero clean look, but with a normal stem so you can make adjustments and travel with it without brain damage or huge expense. It's not massively different looking from the original Cervélo, and I think that's testament to how right the engineers got it the first time around. It looks clean. You've got internal routing, no fork pimples or mounts galore. Even the top tube bag is on point. It's nice and stiff. It's big enough to hold 6 gels, but not so big that it gets in the way. It doesn't flop around, and the zipper works with one hand. Ditto for the computer mount with a separate camera or light mount below. Nice and tidy. In this review video, I'll tell you why I like this bike. I'll give you some of my complaints I still have. I'll give you some comparisons in terms of geometry, tire clearance, and price to other bikes in the category. This video, like all my videos here on the ride, is supported by Silca. Whenever I get a test bike in, put the Silca wax on there. Silca also has a handy tire pressure online calculator that I use all the time. Also, like all my reviews, this is not paid for by the bike brand. I realize this is YouTube and there's often a financial incentive attached to reviews like this. That's not how I operate. If you appreciate the formula, please take a second to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you'll get a little pop-up whenever I post a new video, always on Sundays and more often during the week. Appreciate the support. Now let's dig into this Cervélo Aspero. A common question I get is, what is a good gravel bike that can double as a road bike? And the Aspero is one I often point to. The gearing is different. The bottom bracket is a little bit lower, but on the whole, it feels pretty good on the pavement. My friend and Fast Cat coach, Elliot Baring, who won the Unbound Gravel 100 last year, rides and races on his Aspero 5 all the time with 40 mil slicks. He drops us on the road with this. He drops us on the dirt with this. And it's a good all-around bike. Some other tweaks from that original Cervélo to this new one. You've got a threaded T47A bottom bracket. How many bottom bracket standards do we need? More, evidently, always more. T47 is in some ways the best of both worlds in that you get a press fit like compaction, but you still have threads. T47A, the A in that is for asymmetric, and then you've got the traditional T47 super svelte connection on one side, and then a bigger shell on the drivetrain side. Updates to this bike include a more sloping top tube, which gives you a longer seat post and thus more comfort. Beautiful thing, a long carbon post. Yeah, the seat stays are dropped a bit. The tire clearance, as I mentioned, is now 45. You've got UDH. This particular build has the old style SRAM, but this is future-proof and that you can put on the Red Explorer Axis. It does not have a power meter. Wish it did. SRAM has 2 options, the higher end spider vase version, and then the relatively affordable, I think it's 250 bucks or something like this, the spindle version, which gives you left side power. I would love to see that on this particular bike. Cervélo will tell you that this bike is faster in the wind tunnel. It certainly looks clean with the internal routing. And Cervélo also says the front end is a little bit less stiff than the original. Reserve wheels, speaking of looking clean and aero, the 44s, 40 mil in the front, 44 in the back. I really like these wheels. I've ridden them on a number of different bikes, and being nice and wide, they dovetail pretty well with the tires, which in this case are the WTB 40 Volpines, which I do not love. They're fine. They're a good durable tire. WTBs just always come in a bit heavier than other tires on the scale. Now let's talk geo comparisons. Head tube. 72 degrees puts it on the steeper end of things. I keep a running cheat sheet of all the bikes I've tested in recent days. I'm up to nearly 100 on the gravel bike scale. Most gravel bikes are in the 70 to 72 degree range. Trails at 62 millimeters, which puts it on the livelier end of things. If you want to know what the heck trail is and how that affects your ride, go watch the video that James Huang and I did on gravel bike geometry, with that link down below. Top tube for this 56 centimeter bike is a longer 57.5. That's, on the progressive end of things. Bottom bracket drop, 76, which is, kind of roughly in the middle for current gravel bikes. The deepest that you'll see is usually like an 80 or so. Road bikes are higher than that. So that low bottom bracket gives you a more planted feel compared to a road bike that sits a bit higher or a cross bike that sits a little bit higher. So all in all, nothing outlandish, which is, I think, part of why this bike feels so good. It's not crazy on any one end of the spectrum. And now the most solemn topic of all, tire clearance. Original was 41. Like so many things in the bike world, it depends on how you count. The clearance on either side is 4 mil for road bikes and 6 mil for mountain bikes. And different brands count different ways. For instance, Canyon was just telling me that they count 4.75 on either side. The Aspero 5 had 41 millimeters of clearance with 6 mil either side. This guy is 45 mil with 6 mil either side. So when we're talking clearance of 1 versus 2 millimeters, we're getting into the thick hair splitting. But 45 mil puts it roughly in line with other so-called fast gravel bikes like the Checkmate, like the Crux. Dylan Johnson fans, I hear you. You're saying fast gravel is not 45 mil. We need at least a 2.2 inch mountain bike tire to fit in there. Fine. The Mog from Envy and a few others clear 50s. The new Allied Able does clear a 2.2, but most racy geometry bikes, meaning those that are relatively short in terms of stack and relatively long in terms of reach, are in the 45 mil range. Canyon Grail is still 42. So for its category, it's like its geometry kind of in the middle. Tire clearance is like bottom bracket standards. Can't we just agree on something in this bike world? Anything? How about sealant being a good idea? A common refrain to gravel bike reviews is like, oh, this is just a mountain bike from the 90s. Did mountain bikes in the 90s have carbon frames, electronic shifting, hydraulic disc brakes? No, nor did they have sealant to enhance the ride. As an old boy from the desert of New Mexico where goat heads are a thing, I'm here to tell you, sealant is a vast improvement over the way we used to ride. Silk has got a relatively new sealant that still seals big holes, but now goes in through the valve stems, which is nice and handy. I test so many different tire sizes on bikes I've taken to printing out Silka's chart here for Cat 2 and Cat 4 gravel alongside Envy's tire pressure suggestions. I'll be testing tire pressures and making a video on that with the gang at Silka here in the next few weeks, so you can check back on that. In the meantime, if you haven't seen Silka's tire pressure calculator, check it out. Price comparisons. We've got two basic categories, bike shop bikes and consumer direct bikes. Canyon, being the biggest consumer direct, crushes on price, right? There's also Propane, Ventum, other brands that are going consumer direct, and they will win on price almost every time. This guy, the Rival Explorer Axis, is now $4,600. There's a Apex, which is the fourth tier just underneath Rival, for $4,300, and there's a 2x mechanical Shimano GRX for $4,000. This is all with carbon fork, carbon frame, carbon bar, and carbon post. So in that category, it's relatively decent price. Ventum's rival bike, $4,500, and their Apex bike, $3,000. That's a good deal. Canyon Grail, the rival bike, is $3,600, and their Shimano 2x, $2,600. I should note, though, that the Canyon Grail, a bike that I like, comes with a one-piece bar and stem. So before you buy that, make sure you're sure. Measure 3 times and buy once there. And that is one huge, very simple but huge benefit to a bike shop bike, is you can go in and sit on the thing and get a sense of whether it fits you or not, and how, if you need to, adjust the thing. Bigger picture of the gravel bike range, you can get a giant Revolt with aluminum frame, aluminum cockpit for as little as $1,400, and then you can spend almost as much as you want to spend. You know, S-Works Crux, for instance, with the new SRAM Red Explorer Axis will run you $12,000, and other brands like Colnago will be happy to charge you thousands more for their top-end offering. So there's a huge range, and this is, you know, maybe in the lower third or so. Ride quality. That's the thing, right? If you don't like how it rides, who cares what the cost is or how your friends feel about it? I like how this bike rides. It is stable enough, I feel, for the type of riding I like to do. As always, like with tires and bikes, where you live and how you like to ride determines what good is. I like to ride on dirt roads and paved roads, a little bit of single track trail, but not as the standard for what I ride. Like the single track might be just a little bit of spice on some rides or a little bit of connector to get to other things. But if I wanted to ride trail all day, I would ride a mountain bike. So this bike is certainly noticeably more forgiving on some rougher stuff than the original. But where it really shines is on dirt roads. Accelerating on the bike feels gratifying. How much of that is due to the big beefy bottom bracket? How much is that due to just sensations? I don't know, but the bike feels good coming out of corners, standing up on the thing. The rival group is good, not great. The braking power is not on par with the top offerings from its own SRAM siblings, like the new Red, which is really good, I'm here to tell you. It's not as good as Shimano's brakes. It's not as good as the Campagnolo Eccar brakes, but it's fine. Shifting, it's the same basic setup across all the SRAM range. It's just different materials, right? So you've just got more weight. The cranks are metal instead of carbon. Sometimes the rotors make a bit more noise than the top end offerings. What's missing on this bike is a power meter. SRAM has two offerings, the spider-based high-end version and then also the spindle version, which you can get for $250, I think, something like this. So I think that would be a nice addition to this bike. To sum it up, there's nothing outlandish about this bike. It just does almost all the details very well. If you like a lively, race-feeling gravel bike, this is a really good one. And no, you don't have to race to ride this bike. I like riding dirt roads and paved roads. Sometimes quickly, sometimes I'm just tootling along. Cervélo's aero claims on this bike I find to be believable, but more important, I find this bike to be easy to live with in that, yes, the hoses are routed internally through the frame, but they are not through the stem, so you can do things like remove the cockpit to travel with it, or very easily make changes or adjustments to the stem for your fit. That brings us back to the point of having a bike shop bike, and that yes, you're going to pay more than something that's consumer direct, but it's a heck of a lot easier to get the thing to fit you and have confidence in that before you buy. So that's my take on this current Cervélo Aspero. Let me know your questions. I'll do my best to answer them in the comments below. I'm going to take this bike back and move on to the next one. As always, I appreciate you watching, appreciate you subscribing. Tell your friends about it. That helps me out. Now get out there, enjoy your ride, and we'll see you next time.